What we have here is a solar camera system. We built this so we could set cameras up in a remote location without having to require power, because we can, quite frankly, connect back to the trailer via Wi-Fi further than we can run a power cable often. And sometimes we need to place cameras in remote areas. So to do this, we built a solar camera system. This unit contains a battery, a controller, power supply, and on the back side of this stand is a solar panel. So this system is run by a timer, a controller, and is set to allow the battery to be charged during the day by the solar panel, and then it runs at night to run the camera. So we have basically video surveillance at remote areas at nighttime when we need it. The timer is set so that the camera comes on about 8 p.m. and goes off at 6 a.m. in the morning. And the information from the camera is transmitted back to the trailer by way of this nano Wi-Fi unit. This will all mount on a stand. It's all self-contained, and we can pick it up. It can actually be picked up and moved during deployment if necessary. If, for example, they add equipment, move equipment around, we can actually redeploy this very easily. And it can be done by untrained people. So, let's show how we set this up.
We have a box in a trailer called T2 Solar, and in other trailer it'd be T1 Solar. And it contains all the cameras and equipment we are required to set up a solar unit. In here, we have the antenna and transmitter. To go back to our wireless omnidirectional antenna, we have a couple cameras in here. These are the fixed zoom cameras, the Lorax. We can use those. We have this camera here, which is a 180-degree camera, and we'll use that for demonstration since it's smaller. We have cabling that's required to be attached to the box that we have with a controller in it, and these cables are all marked. And when we set up the box, we'll show that. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have, this will be set up on a tripod at somewhere out in the field somewhere. We'll secure the base. We have this little pipe here. It's the same size as this hole. We can just slip in. We can aim it, and we can secure it. We just have to ensure that when we put this camera up, that we don't put it in upside down, that this reads like it should, so we don't get an upside down image in the trailer. This is a 180-degree camera, so it will pan out 180 degrees, and so this is a very good camera for closer up visualization that we require. It does not work too well at a longer distance because it provides a little bit of a fisheye approach. So, but it does have its needs, or it does provide a service to us. The next thing we'll put up is the nano antenna, and we want to orient this, point it, so it generally points towards the trailer. This is a line of sight connection. And we complete the cinching down the cable ties to hold this in place. And this generally just, if it floats around a little bit, it'll still broadcast and receive from the antenna. The next thing we will do is connect the box on the solar panel. And then after that, then we will show the connections from that box to the nano antenna and to the camera.
First thing we want to do is raise these legs to get them out of the way. We're going to open the box, When we pack this thing away, we disconnect the battery to prevent the battery from discharging while the trailer's in storage and not in use. So the first thing we want to do is connect the battery up to this cable. And it is marked, basically to battery output, and this one's marked battery output. These are Anderson power poles. They cannot be plugged in backwards. And this will immediately power up the controller. And we have a little meter on top of the controller which tells us the battery status. Just touch that little button on the front to get the battery status, and it tells at this point this battery's charged up about 70%. The next thing we want to do is connect the power cable for the camera. The cable has a label on it that says to solar panel. So we're going to push the connector through the foam in the hole at the end of the camera, pull the cable through, and inside there's a cable marked 12 volts to camera. So we're going to plug this into this. That is done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect the Ethernet cable for the Nano Wi-Fi unit. This Ethernet cable has labeled on one end as to antenna main. That'll become evident when we connect it to the Nano. The other end is marked solar and basically says to solar panel. We will take that, run it through the hole with the other cable, and connect it to this connector marked 20 volt power to antenna. We plug that in like so. Then we tuck these back in. The last thing to do is to turn the controller on. The controller's pre-programmed. The time is set, unless we move to another time zone. The time is already set, and the presets are on. And all we have to do is set it from off to auto. There are three labels here, one marked off, auto, and on, and a little arrow pointing to which one the state is in. Right now it's off. For testing purposes, what we will do is we need to unlock the control panel. We do that by punching this 4 times, this top button, and that little lock goes off. Now we can use this button to move that cursor around. When I pushed it to on, you see that the green light came on. That means power is applied to the cameras. At this point, I'm going to switch it back to off so we can finish the rest of the connection. At this point, we will close the lid, lock just one of the latches to keep it in place, and then we will connect the cables at the camera end. The first one we're going to connect is the one that's marked to antenna main. It's going to go in the right-hand connector, which is the connector marked main. This is to provide power over Ethernet to the Wi-Fi. The next cable is going to go to secondary. The other connector, the one on the left, the cable we plugged into secondary is going to go to the camera Ethernet port, which is right there. So that is connected. Now we want to slide this cover back on, making sure the cables go down into the little slot. Slide it up, snap it into place. Make sure it's looking at the Omni on the trailer. The next connection is the power for the camera, which is this white cable. It is also labeled with a label that says to camera, solar. And we plug it into this other connection right here. Now, before we finish the deployment of this camera, we will tie down these cables to the mast. We will tape off with electrical tape these connections, first to be sure they don't come loose, and second to waterproof them, because this stuff will get wet. This is weatherproof, this is weatherproof. These connections are not. Once that is in place, we can then raise the camera. And what we want to do is point the camera where we want to point it, orient it the direction we want to orient it, keeping the Nano pointed at the trailer. And once we're done, we're done. The last thing to do to the mast is we have a weight that we basically strap underneath to the cross pieces underneath to help hold the trailer, to help hold the mast in place in case of wind. These do get blown over. Sometimes there is wind in the areas and they do get blown over, so we weight them down. This generally will hold it in place. The next step is we come over here back to this unit. We go ahead and turn the camera on. We apply power by turning it on. And with somebody inside the trailer looking at the system, we want to adjust the camera to look at the area of interest we want to be able to monitor with the camera. Once that's done, then we want to put the system in auto. By this time, it's probably timed out. If it's timed out, we unlock it again. And then we use the button to switch it off and then back to auto. At this point, the system is in automatic mode and will come on at 8 o'clock tonight and stay on until 6 in the morning. We close this lid, lock it back down. Now we can turn it over and we set it beside somewhere near the camera, pointing at the south, pointing southward to the southward sky to get maximum sun on the solar panel. This panel will charge up that battery in about half a day with decent sun. We do have a power supply in the trailer, so if for some reason we have several days of no sun, we can take this back to the trailer, charge the battery on a AC, and then bring it back out. The last thing we will do is we'll have cables and a padlock. If we're near something we can strap it to, we'll strap it to like a fence post or a street sign. If not, we have an anchor we can put into the ground, and that's just to make sure the system doesn't go walking. We tie it, lock it all together, and that's it. Solar system is set up. If it needs to be moved, all they have to do is pick it up, move it somewhere. The only thing they have to do is keep it within sight of the trailer. This concludes this video.